Good morning campers. Today we're going to be focusing on the engine. When we brought the van, the previous owners let us know that it does get quite hot when running. So today we're going to be removing the engine and having a good look at what we're dealing with so we can get on with our restoration. Now, we haven't really taken one of these out before, but whilst rummaging through the bag of goodies that we got given, found one of these. And for all the people that don't know what this is the Haynes manual. This is what you used to get back in the good old days of no internet. Apparently, there is a step-by-step guide of how to get the engine out. Let's see how true the guide is. Right, I'm in the comfiest position in the garage, as many of you know. But I'm not here to fall asleep. So we've got to take out the half shaft bolts to start with. We've already disconnected the battery and took apart a few linkages up in the engine bay. Catch up with you in a bit. I've just removed 6 bolts from either half shaft of the transaxle. A transaxle is a gearbox and a differential all in one. So after removing the half shaft, it's time to come back up to the engine, remove the wiring and all essential parts out the way so we can get the engine out as free as possible. So what we have removed from the top of the engine are the carbs, the alternator wiring, the engine breather, the king lead, the oil pressure switch wire, the throttle cable, the fuel supply, the vacuum hoses, the vacuum hose to the servo, and the 2 bolts that hold the engine to the transaxle. But then, engine out. So, on the topic of the transaxle, like I just said, there are 2 17mm nuts and bolts that hold the transaxle to the engine at the top. And there are 2 nuts which hold it at the bottom. If you were to take the engine out, I would highly advise taking the transaxle out to start with. Otherwise you're going to have an absolute nightmare to try and get it out, as there is no wiggle room at all. So the next stage is to get all the tin wear off. As you can see, being such an old vehicle, that's surface. Then you come around here, that's not surface, that's completely gone through. These, by the looks of things, are your Durgos. So this funky little contraption feeds down into here, straight into there, and then your hot air goes into your cab. The reason for that is so that the cold air goes into here and allows all the hot air to pretty much get, rather than trickle fed in, it gets force fed into your cab. As you can see, we're removing various bits of tinware and other components such as the alternator so that we can get the engine down to a bare block. This is the stage we've got the engine at so far, and this is the tinware that we've removed. All I'm pointing out here is the dirt and the grime that we found whilst removing the tin, and under where the flap is for the oil cooler as well. This should really be a lot cleaner than this. So, you might be wondering why the engine is currently doing a handstand. The reason being, we've got to get the tin from underneath off and the exhaust out of the way so we can see what's actually going on. I am absolutely exhausted. So we've removed the exhaust to have a look at the underside of the engine. And now we can see the pushrod tubes. All of them do look damaged, so they will be getting replaced. Also, it appears that there was a leak coming from one of the pushrod tubes, so it looks like somebody has attempted to reseal it. Once we've lifted the engine up to get a proper in-depth look, I mean, look at the state of this. It's actually moulded to where the tinware was. The transaxle is out. As suspected, it took less than half an hour to get out, and it would have been so much easier to get this out and then the engine rather than the other way around. Right, so the engine and transaxle are back in one piece, albeit not in the van. Only reason being, we needed the starter motor to crank the engine over to see how much compression we have in each cylinder. So guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, really appreciate it. Unfortunately we couldn't get the compression test done, because that's for next episode. Thank you ever so much, see you next time, please stick around for the journey. Ta-da!